an entire performance Tritoon together for a fraction of the cost. We're gonna show you how we're doing everything. We're gonna teach you how we're doing everything. We've got the wood up. We're gonna center everything. Marty's here. This is the first deck you've laid, isn't it? I'm gonna teach him on our boat how to lay a deck properly. What we're gonna do is get our boards all squared up. We've already got tar tape at the seams. Well, all of the seams where two boards meet is where we're gonna tar tape. So we won't tar tape every single cross member, but what it is basically a rubber tar that's going to stick to the cross member where two boards come together. And what we'll do is we're just gonna go ahead and leave this peel backing on. This will come off when we get to that point. We'll peel this all back and then we'll set the two boards on. But for now, we're gonna leave this top part on. She's gonna go ahead and tar tape each seam so that we can just set all the boards up. So we're gonna start by screwing in this back board when it's all lined up. Then we can lift the front edge of it here, lift that up, and that'll allow us to peel that top of the tar tape off. There's like a paper top on it. Then let this board stick down in the front. We'll make sure the second board is stuck in place here, and then we can put all our screws in, screw this seam in. So we'll screw the second board forward in, just the very back. We'll peel the tar tape and the next seam forward, and we just keep working our way forward just like that. So always screwing the back of the board down first so we can lift the front edge, peel the tar tape, get those, basically the two boards set. Then we keep working forward that way. We're gonna pilot our holes. These are pretty heavy, 1/8 inch aluminum. So those self-tappers would get through it, but we're gonna make our lives a lot easier. And we're gonna run a pilot hole through first, and then we'll run the self-tappers in. Chalk line the cross members across to speed up the process. And then we'll do a self-tapper about every 16 inches. We've got our hardware in, all of our boards down. So you can see we self-tapped. It got 5 screws across where it was not a seam. And then where the seams were, you'll see here, we put a screw on each side of the seam. This got 6 sets of screws on each seam. Always better to countersink a little bit extra, you know, maybe through one layer of ply, than having the heads of the self-tapping screws stick up. You'll feel things that are risen a lot more than the things that are sunk in with that vinyl. Corey's gonna give it a quick sweep, and then we'll get to putting the vinyl. We will check all of our seams where the boards come together. This looks really good. Sometimes they might need to be sanded a little bit just so you don't feel that under your bare feet, but it looked really good. So we'll give it one check, and then we'll get to we're doing the teak plank vinyl on this. So excited to do that. It's gonna be a super sharp look. When you get your roll of vinyl flooring, this is the 8.5, they're all 8.5 foot wide or a little wider, but it's gonna come in this roll. The way I do this seems to work the best is I find that seam where the end of the roll is. So right here, if you can see that, I'm gonna take my razor and I'm gonna cut on the high side. So at the very end of the roll, I'm gonna leave about 1 inch space. So I'll cut the whole length, and what that does, if you look here, is that'll allow me to open this up. I've cut this little bit, I've slit that, not a big deal, because that's gonna get cut off anyway. So I'm gonna do that the full length. I just use my one finger as a guide, and then use the razor on the rest. What I can then do is get it centered the best I can, and then grab one end. I can walk. I'll walk all the way back with it. It's gonna unroll part of it. Give myself a little overhang on this far side. And then if you're by yourself, you just get underneath the rest and unroll it. If you have another person, you can go on each side. This works when you're by yourself or your partner's filming you. And we'll pull it so that we're even side to side. We'll show you how we line up this teak plank look so that we have straight lines front to back. I've got a whole lot of excess up here just to make it easier for lining up my lines. I'm gonna leave myself an inch or so, but I have some excess in the back also. We'll cut some of that off. We're just gonna get rid of the way excess. I like to start with a fresh razor whenever I do a new boat. That blade just wasn't cutting it. So our next step is making sure that our lines are straight. And the way that we do that, I'm gonna pick a line and I'm gonna make a mark, take that measurement, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the same side up front. So if it was 49 inches to this line right here, I'd make a mark, line this up, clamp it, go to the front, same port side, and I would do my 49 inches, make a mark, and go from there. That way our lines are nice and straight. We pull it tight, we double, triple check it, then we glue it down. So this is what I was talking about. This line right here is gonna be essentially my center line, or my line that I'm using to make sure everything's straight. I measured from the port side corner of the plywood over 49¼ inches here. So I'm gonna go up front and I'm gonna measure 49¼ inches. And I'm gonna make my mark on my plywood, and I'm gonna line up this same line in the teak plank with that 49¼ 49¼ is here. I need to move this line over so it's in line here with that 49¼ mark, and then I know my center line will be straight. So I'm gonna use this far corner because I need to come about a ½ inch over. As you can see the line there. So I'm just gonna pick up, do a little wave, and it's gonna move for me just like that. Look at that. That's where I want it. So I still have a little bit of a wrinkle I'm gonna have to work out. There'll be a little bit of back and forth to get this just right, but eventually we'll get it to where this is right in line. And then I'm gonna take a 1x4, about a foot long, and I'm gonna clamp it so that this stays right in place. We'll clamp the back, and then we'll fold hot dog style, or long ways, to get our glue down. We did a little bit of shuffling, a little bit of shaking, moving, and then eventually we work by pulling it tight long ways. And that's gonna be the last way that I can get that in line as well as possible. I like it a lot. So let's clamp this and then we can get to gluing. I've clamped this front board on nice and tight, and I'm gonna go to the back with another clamp, and we're just gonna pull that vinyl as tight as we can long-wise, make sure we're still lined up, and then we can clamp this one down. Sometimes we'll roll it front to back. In this case with the vinyl teak, I like to pull it from the back so I can make sure it's still nice and straight when I get there. So I'm stretching that vinyl, pulling it tight, keeping it lined up. I like the look of those lines. We're gonna go ahead and clamp it. And yes, lining this up on a 16-foot boat is a lot easier than a 22-foot boat, but we're doing our best. I noticed a little wave in our lines kind of towards the front middle half of the boat. So all I did was give this a little lift and pull just ever so slightly. I did that a couple times and it got straight as an arrow. We're really happy with where it is. So now let's move to gluing that vinyl down. We've got our glue here. This is the D128 from Deckmate. I'm gonna stir this up, and we're gonna use a paint roller to apply this. You could use a trowel if you have a different type of glue that's approved by Deckmate. You could use that, but we are gonna paint roll it on. Seems to be the fastest, smoothest way to do it. When we get to that step, I'm gonna pull this back lengthwise. We've got it roughly about halfway. This is a 22-foot by 8.5 wide deck. This is gonna take pretty much all of 2 gallons. So I'm gonna go ahead and just evenly distribute my glue. I like to run a line right down the middle of my halved flooring. And wherever I'm gonna start, I'm gonna add a little extra glue. And because that paint roller is gonna soak up a little bit. We're using a short nap paint roller, and then we start rolling. So I'm gonna do this kind of like I'm painting a wall, but a little bit sloppier. I'm gonna do big W's down the middle to distribute this glue front to back without going all the way to the vinyl or to the edge. Then we'll go back and fill in where we missed on the W. Just spreading as evenly as possible throughout the middle to start. In this type of temperature, we're about 80 degrees in here right now. It's a pretty warm day. I've got about 10 minutes or until it starts to turn clear to work it. So once I've done that middle part, I'm gonna work just right up to my fold, all the way down. If it starts to turn clear on you, you can go ahead and just reapply some fresh glue on top, and it'll reactivate the glue, it'll get sticky again. So now that I've hit my vinyl side, I'm gonna start working over towards the edge. I'm going near the edge, not all the way. I'll hit that when I get down off the boat. And likely if you're doing a similar sized boat, you dumped a whole gallon out, you're gonna have some excess. I'm just gonna go ahead and work the whole thing back and forth until I get that excess glue smoothed in and evenly distributed. It's gonna soak into the felt backing on this vinyl, so it's okay if there's a little extra, but I don't want big puddles necessarily. Have a rag ready. You might get some drips at the end here. Once I have my glue evenly distributed, I can roll this back into place. My next step is going to be taking a PVC pipe, or if you don't have a PVC pipe, you have a cutting board at home, you could do just the cutting board. We double do it, if that's a thing. We hit it with our PVC pipe first, and then we put more pressure down in a smaller area with the cutting board. With that PVC pipe, this one's about 5 feet long. I'm just gonna work so I can get, there's a big wrinkle here. That's gonna work that bubble right out. And I'm just gonna work from the center to the outside, the length of the boat. And then I go back over, putting my weight down on this cutting board. The air bubbles are out, the wrinkles are out. This is more just to help that felt backing grab that glue and the plywood. So I'm gonna push down hard as I push out, and I'm gonna take my weight off of it the best I can coming back. Yes, I've seen people use linoleum rollers and weighted rollers of sorts. You could absolutely use those types of rollers. We've always done it this way. We're gonna keep doing it this way. I've got that smoothed out. It's time to take my clamps off. Then I can roll my vinyl back to expose where the glue is just at the middle. And then I'm gonna do the same thing I did, dumping out and rolling out my glue on this other side. So as I peel this back or roll it back, we're gonna go just to where we expose where we've already laid glue. And I'm gonna hit that, so we'll kind of just double up that seam with fresh glue. Don't worry if the glue is starting to turn clear, you're gonna hit it with fresh glue just like this, and then it'll reactivate it. We've got this other side glued, we're gonna roll it back down and then we'll roll it out. One big thing to note is when I roll this second side, I'm gonna start, our halfway point was here, that's where we clamped. I'm gonna make sure I start on this side and push so I get that middle part. So every time I come back, I'll return beyond halfway and go from there. We're gonna do the cutting board one more time on this. Then we have 2 more steps. We have to trim the excess, and then we'll staple around the outside. I've got that fresh razor. Now I'm gonna work my way cutting this excess vinyl off nice and flush with the board. So I'm just pulling down and away with one hand and gently running the razor with the other hand. It doesn't take a lot to cut this with a sharp razor. You don't want to put too much pressure and slip and cut into your vinyl. Watch out, your trimmings can be messy. Our edges are all cut. We are gonna go around every about 6 to 8 inches. We'll hit a staple in here, and that's just gonna help keep that edge down. It's gonna help it glue well all the way out to the edge and not have anything loose or peeling back. We'll let it sit 24 to 48 hours. Then we've got our floor in place, cured up. Especially, remember, we wanna do this above 65 degrees if possible, at least above 60, or in the sun at 60 degrees to let that glue cure. We're gonna get this stapled down. Then we can come back in a day or 2 and start putting the railings and furniture on. This is a really simple little air compressor driven staple gun, PT50 from Arrow. It runs T50 staples, 1/2 inches, and we're just gonna go around. Remember, yes, this is probably overkill. Your deck trim is gonna sit on, your rub rail is gonna sit on top and help hold it down. We like to do this to make sure that it dries all the way out to the edge. That's it. We let it cure up. We're going with black railings, gray furniture. Can't wait to show you how it turns out.